Joe. All right, Woody, we've got Chris Perkins, Sun Sentinel Dolphins columnist, been busy, had a couple of crazy days himself. Perk, good morning, and brothers, as I bring you in here today, were you surprised after everything and Mike talking about being involved and helping find the next GM, and the next thing you know, we find out after our show yesterday morning, he's out. Did that surprise you? You were. Yeah. Yeah, and you're right. It's just they're cleaning house. There's going to be a lot of new looking faces around there. But I want to ask you your conspiracy theory, because everybody's trying to figure out. So now all of a sudden, a couple days later, Stephen Ross walks into his office and listens to him. They talk a little bit, and he goes, "Nah, I ain't feeling it anymore." Did somebody get in his ear? Some people think Troy Aikman was thinking about Monday Night Football and some of the things that happened late in that game. Or maybe his son-in-law said, "Hey, no, we can't do it this way. This is not a good way to do it." What would be your take on what probably happened?
On Mike McDaniel before the season finale. It's bizarre that it happened after Harbaugh's availability. That's what I'll say, Joe. But because everything else should have been decided before that, right? I mean, what could have tipped the scale after that season finale, or even after the last after Tua got benched? Everything should have been decided, right? I mean, that's when you should have known. Okay, Greer is out of the way, Tua is out of the way. Let's just get Mike out of the way and make the clean sweep. I don't know, aside from Harbaugh, what could have been the tipping point in this decision on the Thursday after Black Monday.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. So they're saying a lot of people are reporting that a GM could be in place today. Any idea of those four who looks like they're the front runner?
Well, I mean, we know that Chad Alexander has a relationship with Harbaugh, right? Chad Alexander,
we do.
Who was, the LA Chargers assistant GM, who was with the Jets, but was with the Ravens for 20 years before that. So aside from that, Joe, I don't know. And look, I don't know what the backup plan is. If Harbaugh is the target and if they don't get him, I don't know what the backup plan is here, Joe. I mean, and I can understand the Dolphins saying we haven't contacted Harbaugh. How bad would it look, Joe, if they go after the other Harbaugh while they have a coach and they don't get him? Because they went after Jim Harbaugh when they had Tony Sperano and they didn't get Jim. If you go after John while you had Mike and you don't get this Harbaugh, you look really, really bad. So I just have a hard time believing that they have not contacted Harbaugh, which would be the connection to Chad Alexander being the new GM. But let's wait and see. Maybe we find something out today.
So Mike McDaniel, boy, after yesterday, he's in great shape to get, it looks like, one of a lot of different offensive coordinator jobs. You think there's a chance somebody still, we're looking for 8 head coaches, that he gets one of those jobs, or you think it's back to being a coordinator?
I would probably have Mike be a coordinator myself for a couple of years, but I wouldn't be surprised if he got a new job. I mean, look, Mike is not a bad head coach. He's just not a good head coach, if that makes sense. That he didn't ruin the Dolphins. He just didn't live up to expectations. And I think if he changed some things, the offensive system, be a little more run first, the player empowerment thing, be a little bit more of a leader as opposed to listening to players so much. If he tweaks a couple of things, I think Mike could really be an effective head coach. Again, I have nothing against Mike. I don't think anybody has anything personally against Mike. He's a good man. He's a good person. I just thought he was a little too nice and a little too hard-headed and stubborn in some ways.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. You sometimes I wonder. So if you could sit down with him, like, hey, what have you learned over 4 years from the way it started? It's an interesting topic. This thing about treating superstars differently than other players, and we now know Mike was guilty of the late guys that end up being the star players. Some of them, and it might have affected other guys, but. Everybody says it goes on everywhere. I mean, hey, man, I'm going to treat him a little different when he oversleeps compared to you because you're not as good, Joe. I mean, I get that, and I think it goes on most places. Do you agree?
Yeah. I think it goes on most places. What I found interesting was that Mike was the one who volunteered that information. After 2024 about players being late and I find them and it doesn't work. It's like, Mike, why are you publicizing this? This would have never gotten out. That's one of the things that I would tell Mike, and I'm sure he's been told, don't bring stuff like that up. That makes you look bad. That makes you look weak. But really, again, I think that Mike is going to be a much better coach at his second stop than he was here with the Dolphins. It's just I'm not sure that he's ready for that opportunity right now. I think another year or two as a coordinator and you kind of hone your player relation skills a little bit more. You hone being the adult in the room, not being a jackass. You don't have to do a 180, maybe a 90-degree turn, Joe. You can't go from one extreme to the other. And by the way, I hope the Dolphins don't do that with their head coach. Though you know how they went from Flo to McDaniel. I hope they don't go back to another Flo. So, but yeah, Mike, if Mike makes some adjustments, I think he will be a very effective head coach if and when he gets another opportunity.
Hey, so the other guy that we haven't talked much about is this Anthony Weaver, defensive coordinator. He's got some interviews. Boy, you look at the names. Could he have a shot? He's got a great personality. I mean, I could see he interviews really, really well for one of these jobs. What do you think?
Oh, yeah, definitely. His credentials with this defense can be called into question, but I don't think we've had a whole lot of help, and he didn't definitely get help early in training camp in the secondary.
Right.
That was kind of a piecemeal makeshift secondary. Joe, I wonder if the Dolphins are going to interview Weave. Wouldn't it be bizarre if they didn't? So I would think he would have to be on their list, and if he's not, it would be, that's interesting. Other teams want your defensive coordinator to be a head coach, and you don't. So I'm going to be watching for that also. That'll be interesting.
Hey, so the Tua thing, still here. He's gone, right? I mean,
yeah, he's going. He's going.
What's that thing he just told us? What was that thing he just dope? Yeah, he's dope.
It'd be dope. Yeah,
take his dope ass out of here. Is what I was hoping he'd do now.
So why are you turning that on Tua? Come on. You know what? It was.
What else can he say? He's giving you so much to write about, brother. What's left, Perk? Come on.
He has, Joe, and very few of it was good this season. I'm glad that's Tua's attitude because the chances of him staying here.
I agree with you on
no
that.
Tyreek and no Mike McDaniel. I couldn't imagine a new GM and a coach wanting to come here and you have to deal with Tua. So it's good that Tua recognizes the reality of the situation. Good luck to him, but I doubt that he goes into any camp this season as the starter. He'll probably have to go somewhere as a backup, and if he gets an opportunity through injury or whatever, see if he can take that starting job. You'll recall that's what Ryan Tannehill did twice, right? He came to the Dolphins as the number 3 when he got drafted behind David Garrard and Matt Moore. Garrard blows out his knee. They decide to go with the rookie over Matt Moore, so he starts here. Then he goes to Tennessee. Marcus Mariota is the starter. Mariota gets hurt. Tannehill takes over and never gives up the job. So I think that's probably going to have to be the route for Tua in the future here.
All right, so that's one part of it. The other part is we still got to find a franchise quarterback. Where do you stand on Quinn Ewers after watching him for 3 games?
Not good enough to be the starter. He can definitely come back and compete to be the starter, but I'm not opening training camp with Quinn Ewers penciled in as my starter. Here's what I hope, Joe, is that the culture change starts with the GM and then goes to the coach. They're not afraid of having competition at the quarterback position. In other words, they don't. If you can get a star stud quarterback who is clearly your starter, yeah, you can do that, but most likely you're going to have, you're picking from second-tier guys. Don't force yourself to fall in love with somebody in the first round this year. If there's somebody that you love at quarterback in the first round, take them. But, Joe, you know what I've said. Otherwise, just keep building the trenches like you've built the last 2 years. That's really what I want to see with the GM and the coach is that, don't favor this quarterback thing that we saw from Philbin and Gase and McDaniel that, you've got this coach who's a quarterback whisperer. Try to do some hard work. Be a gritty team. Be the team that you were at the end of this year. Run first. Try to dominate the lines of scrimmage. Do the dirty work that's required in the NFL, not this pretty boy stuff, the deep passing game and the touchdown sellies and the social media and all that stuff. Be a up from the mud, gritty team. I think that's a better way to go about business.
So when fans who they want to know, I mean, they're frustrated like we are. I'm just curious, what do you tell them when they go, hey, what are we going to look like next year? Well, I know we got all these draft picks. We got number 3 picks, 3 in the third round. What do you tell them? Is it a complete rebuild? Is it a reset? What are you calling for next year, considering what the money situation is going to look like on the cap?
So I tell them this is the start of a new Dolphins era where we are a complete team like San Francisco, like Philly, like Detroit, where just like I just said, Joe, it's not all this pretty boy quarterback wide receiver system. We're tough on both sides of the line of scrimmage. We're going to dominate. We're going to play physical football. We're going to be in your face. We're going to have different ways to beat you. We can beat you with the deep pass. We can beat you with the run. We can beat you with our edge rushers, with our secondary. That's the type of team that I think Dolphins fans want. I think that this Mike McDaniel flash system was all good when you were scoring 70 points against bad teams. But the following week, you go up to Buffalo and you get blasted 48-20. Late in the season, you go to Baltimore, you get blasted 56-19. You don't need that kind of instability, Joe. You need a team that can win in all conditions against all opponents, home and road.
Yeah.
And that's what I would tell fans. That's the type of team that we're building. This is a new beginning.
It's funny. I saw the national guys really, especially at ESPN, hit that hard about the record in cold weather and your quarterback's record. We definitely have to get a quarterback that is weatherproof. I just that he can throw it in anything. The snow, the ice, whether it's New England's 20 degrees, the Buffalo Bills 20 degrees, the Jets, or Pittsburgh. That was a cold ass day. We got to get a guy who can throw it in all the different ways. I'm with you, and we got to get guys who can play in it that upgrade this roster too.
Yeah, and look, Joe, I'm not a big cold weather guy. I'm a bigger believer in beating the good teams. Mike was 5-22 against playoff teams. Think about that, 5-22, Joe. The cold weather thing, they were 1-6 in games against teams in cold weather games when it's 45 degrees or less. Mike McDaniel, that was his record, but 2 of those games are against Buffalo. 1 of those games is against Green Bay. These are teams that you weren't going to beat anyway. Yeah. You had 2 games against the Jets, and you went 1-1, including last year's finale and this year. But the Pittsburgh game this year, and the better team won those cold weather games. You didn't play anybody on your level except for those 2 games against the Jets. The other teams were better than you. They were playoff teams. You went 5-22 against playoff teams, Joe. You weren't beating those teams if it was September, 80 degrees at Hard Rock. That's just the way it goes. So, get a team that can compete with the top teams in the league. Then we can talk about winning in cold weather.
Perk, always great talking to you, man. I was aware of the fact you've been on this. All 3 of them need to go: the head coach, the quarterback, and the GM. And it's starting to look that way. Perk, thank you very much, man. I appreciate it.
All right, Joe. Hopefully this GM brings a new identity, man. Let's hope.
Can't wait to see what it's going to look like. Here we go, yep. Perk. Thank you, buddy. All right. Have a good weekend. Chris Perkins, Sun Sentinel Dolphins columnist, joining us this morning as we jump into this 8 o'clock hour. I do want to take a second when our players get injured. A lot